name is Dr. Melody Stotler. What? No, I'm loud. And I'm gonna be real loud. Okay, so my name is Dr. Melody Metcalf-Stotler. I am a recent graduate PhD in media psychology, and my area of focus and interest and research and obsession is gaming and gamer identity. I have been a lifelong gamer, my whole life lifelong. I started playing on an Atari 2600 when I was little, and I've had pretty much every console up through, and I'm a PC gamer, PC Master Race. If you're a gamer, you'll know what that means. And so during all of my research, I actually got into media psychology because I really love gaming and I really love psychology, and I was like, hey, let's Google search if this is a thing together, and whoo, it was. So here I am. So during all the time that I've been researching and reflecting on the researches out there, and also my time as a gamer and all my friends, I realized that how we define gamers is kind of confusing and kind of not really necessarily the most accurate. And there's a difference between gamers and people who play games. One is an identity and one is a hobby. So I really wanted to talk about that because it definitely affects the perceptions of non-gaming society about gamers, gamer culture, what should be expected or is expected of game content, stuff like that. And I wanted to do it from the in-group perspective because you can't really define the out-groups. So if you're not a member of the community, how do you know what it means to be a member of the community? I thought that was super important, and really it hadn't been done. So I'm talking about kind of the stuff that I looked at in my dissertation, but I'm not going to specifically, I'm giving kind of an overall, this is what gamers are, and this is why you should love us, and how can you connect with gamers in your life if you're not a gamer, because it's all super important, and it's not going away. So, I have little notes on my paper that says click, so I'm going to click. Okay, so I took a note from Aiden and decided to go with goals to keep me focused. And my goals are to define gamers, to help you understand, or actually to look at how other people in the past research have defined gamers or not defined gamers, to help you understand what I found with my research, which is what gamers say gamers are, and then to help unlock an achievement, because this is a gaming talk. Okay, so first we're going to talk about gaming. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are Ivy League schools that are creating e-sport conferences. There are scholarships. There are there's all kinds of stuff having to do with education and esports, which you didn't know about because I didn't click it up. There are professional game leagues, obviously, esports, and actually, I love telling people this. The League of Legends World Championships, the final set of matches in that had 93 million viewers in 2018, and in 99.6 million viewers, and that same year the Super Bowl had 103. So there's only a 3.4 million person difference between the Super Bowl, which is widely thought of as the big event, and one of the big esport events. So that's not very many. It's really big, and it's not because of Fortnite, by the way. And like I said, there's varsity league play in colleges, there are scholarships, there are Ivy League conferences being created to help create a place for gamers to play and to develop their skills, but not have to necessarily be held to non-esport, NCAA standards, because they're so different. They're just creating their own conferences because this is a big deal. And also live streaming on Twitch, on YouTube, on things like PlayStation Network, Xbox Live. These are very, very lucrative avenues to take gaming down, because you have viewers who are talking to you, you get to know them personally, you can play a game from the comfort of your home and have anyone on the planet watch you play and give you money because we're playing a video game. So it's definitely a whole different world from playing the Atari 2600 in your living room with no one knowing they were doing it. Just kidding. So gaming also creates jobs. There are, developers and publishers, obviously, but there are also the players. Professional sports players get paid a really lot of money. They also have Olympic-like schedules, training. They physically train. It's a full-time job. It's a huge deal. But not even just professional players. There are streamers, like I said, who are making a ton of money from creating streaming content or YouTube videos or whatever. And I mean, this is their living, playing video games. And then it also creates careers, because you have the streamers, anyone on their team, anyone who is helping to edit content for YouTubers. On Twitch, your community managers will get paid. There are teams. Anytime you have an industry that is huge, you have people who are going to be supporting stuff. So it just creates a ton of jobs. And then also there are the benefits of gaming. There's tangential learning. You can learn economics in World of Warcraft. You can learn socialization. You can learn group dynamics. You can learn leadership skills. You can learn how to type. You can use your imagination and role play and create a world that doesn't exist using the mechanics of a game and your imagination. So it also allows people with social anxiety to kind of get used to interacting with people. It allows people who are exploring their identity to do so in a safe space, or at least from the comfort of their behind their computer screen and being disinhibited and feeling anonymous. Okay, so now we're going to talk about gamers. So everyone knows the 30s or 40s something, super huge, really gross, never showered in his life dude with the Doritos and Mountain Dews in his mom's basement, blah, 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 right? So hopefully all of you know that's been pretty debunked by now. The age range for gamers is like super young, and gamers will complain about 12, 13-year-olds cussing at them all the time. And I have friends that are in their 70s that play games, and I'm sure that there are people who are older than that too, and who identify as gamers, not just people who play games. So it's definitely not something, there are women and men of all ages, like I said. And there are also people who don't even specifically identify as gamers, but who play games. So there's no real great way to measure, or there hasn't been a great way to measure what a gamer is, and the stereotypes are they're definitely debunked. They also have negative impacts. Anytime that you have a group that is marginalized, whether or not you realize that they're a part of that group, they're going to take in every negative thing that they overhear you saying and apply it to themselves, and that can be really destructive. Not to mention the people who are obviously, gamers, or who are obviously in a minority group, which we're all talking about here. So it's really important to remember that you might not know what you're talking about with the person that you're talking to. It might affect them, and not every minority is visible, I guess is what I'm saying. Gaming is obviously, some people you can kind of guess, but for the most part, gaming is a pretty invisible group of people. Gamers are a pretty invisible group of people unless you happen to know that they're gamers. So anything that you say that's detrimental, for example, when I was doing my dissertation, there were plenty of people who said, I identify as a gamer unless I'm at work because I'm afraid that people at work are going to think less of me if I say I'm a gamer. That is pretty common among people who say that they, some people said that they choose to identify at certain times, and that is why they did so. So, the negative effect, there's research that shows that there are some LGBT gamers who, because they don't really want to deal with being marginalized for being LGBT and marginalized for being gamers, they just don't identify as gamers to kind of get rid of all of that. So just be careful when you're talking to people. Don't be like, oh, gamers are stupid, or they live in their mom's basement, or I don't even like Doritos. Just don't. And then understanding gamers can help therapists, can help parents, can help teachers, can help Joe Schmo off the street connect with gamers, be able to understand why they do what they do, be able to just have discussions with them and get them to talk back, because a lot of times people who are marginalized just don't even want to deal with it. They just don't want to talk to you about it. They don't want to, because it just brings up feelings, and they start to get, they can get nervous, whatever. So better communication, strong relationships, lower stress interactions, and also it's, as a mom, it can be a good tool for getting your kids to do things. It's a good reinforcement tool. It's a good way to understand or help be a part of what your kid is learning or what your kid is experiencing. So you don't have to be a gamer, but if you are okay with gamers and you try to understand what motivates them, you definitely have a better way of connecting. Okay, so previous measures for definitions, most of them are quantitative, and some of them are based on the number of hours played, whether or not they've played within a specific time period. But it's all pretty inconsistent, different studies do measure different things, and they say, okay, well, a gamer is, for instance, a gamer is someone who plays 20 hours in a week, or a gamer is someone who has played once in the last year. It's not a consistent measure, and it's not necessarily measuring an identity, it's measuring a behavior. And so being a game player is not the same as being a gamer. Lots of people play Facebook games. That doesn't mean that they're a gamer necessarily. They could play, what's it called, Farmville? Clearly, I don't play it. They could play Farmville for 20 hours a week, and that doesn't mean that they're a gamer. They're just really bored at the bus stop every day, and it's a thing, or, there are plenty of reasons that people play games. It doesn't make them a gamer. It's definitely, there's a difference between, people who knit and people who are knitters, people who, skateboard and skateboarders. And also demographics have been studied in the past, but they vary because, which information is collected, and when was it collected, and how was it collected, and what definition was used. So you're gonna collect demographic information about anyone who has played for 20 hours in the last week. That's gonna vary from, collecting information about the gender of every person who's ever played World of Warcraft or something. So it's just it's hard to talk about a community when you don't really know what they are. So what I did for my dissertation is I asked people, hey, do you identify as a gamer? If so, can you tell us what you think about this, and basically got some definitions from them, some consistent answers about what they think it means to be a gamer, what they think sets gamers apart from non-gamers, and there were 3 themes. The first one is that they play games frequently, which, stands to reason. 20 hours a week is not a bad measure, it's just not one that's necessarily accurate, but gamers definitely are yeah, we play games a lot. They are passionate about gaming. They don't just die on a level and then give up. They keep going and going and going. There's research about that actually. And they get intense. They'll play games that are not easy. They like a challenge, and that's, they're passionate about it. They read about it. They immerse themselves in it, and that's the other part, participation in the gaming community. So they have friends that are gamers, they read about gamers, they go to game websites, they're always on Twitch, they're always on, PSN, they're always reading, whatever news source. They're very, very involved. Go to Reddit, you'll see. And so what I did 2 parts to my dissertation study. The first one was qualitative, asking them, you know, hey, what do you think it means to be a gamer? The second part was quantitative, and I adapted a scale, the fan identity scale, and we asked questions about those kinds of things. How passionate are you, and stuff like that. And we also asked how important you feel it is to your life. And what I found was that high enthusiasm about games significantly positively correlated with people likely to explicitly identify as a gamer. So basically, like, if they're super into games, it's pretty likely that they're going to call themselves a gamer. They could love to play games, but if they're not super into them, who knows? So it's a pretty, I found two like little pieces of measures, 2 little measures that tell us pretty consistently who's a gamer and who's not. And so those are great ways to measure, hey, are we talking about gamers? Let's like ask a couple questions and just find out real quick. And then you can say things about gamers and not be like, that's not what a gamer is, because, yo, like, we actually asked you what gamer was, so yeah, it is. Thanks. It's not just coming from me. Okay, so this is the achievement locked part. So what it would be great to take from this, and this is not the takeaways because I have that slide next, don't worry. But if you're gonna talk to a gamer, if you want to connect with a gamer, an accurate description of the gamer, like an understanding of gamers and gamer cultures, is pretty important. A better understanding reduces stigmatization. It also can help with like confrontational, like you don't want confrontational interactions with gamers, because we all know gamers can be salty. We've seen the research, and also like judgments. You don't want to make a bad judgment. You know, there's stereotypes are there for a reason. We definitely stereotype people to like determine whether or not they're safe for us or we're in any danger, but you have to go beyond that. You can't just stop there. You have to go beyond that and really understand the person, and that is going to help you make a judgment more accurately. And also it helps with connection. It helps with tangential learning and motivation. If you understand all of these things, if you understand what motivates them to play games, you can use that to facilitate other motivations or other things like, hey, I know you want to play games with your friends, but you gotta do your homework first. So, okay, like my kid's always like, okay, homework, get it out of the way, I need to play. They're waiting for me. But if she wasn't gonna socialize, then that wouldn't be a good way to motivate her to do her homework. It would be more like, hey, you have 3 achievements that close tonight, you wanna unlock those achievements, I guess you better get your homework done with enough time to unlock those achievements. So it just really depends on why they're motivated. And so this is the takeaway part. So gaming isn't going anywhere, it's here. It's not like, oh, just wait it out for 50 years. It's just, we're here, we've arrived. Gamers love to play frequently, and immerse themselves in the gaming culture. And gamers are enthusiastic about gaming. They definitely think that gaming is an important part of their lives. If they're gonna identify as a gamer, they're probably, with the exception of very few, they're probably gonna talk about it a lot. They're gonna tell everyone they're gamers. They're gonna be like, me and my gamer friends. And the cake is a lie, and if you understand that, you might be a gamer. Okay, so I wanted to thank everyone for listening to me talk about gamers, because I know it's like a super, everyone knows about gamers, but also I feel like a lot of people don't really know about gamers, and it's really important to me as a gamer, but also because as an academic, I actually get a lot of flack for being a gamer, but also from gamers, I get a lot of flack for being an academic. And there is a lot of that kind of stuff that goes along, like being gay and a gamer. That's another, dualistic marginalization is super fun, and no one wants to deal with that. And so, helping normalize things and understanding things really reduces marginalization. It reduces how much people are, we're scared of things that we don't understand. Everyone kind of knows that. So, get to understand them, and then they're not so scary.